Morning, everyone. Welcome to another session for the Royal Voluntary Services Virtual Village Hall. Hope you're all well and ready to do a bit of scribbling this morning. As ever, I'll be with you for an hour. It's just a chance to stir up some memories, write a bit of fiction if you want to write stories rather than memories. Have a bit of fun. Don't worry about your spelling, grammar, whatever anything sounds like. It's just, as I often say in these things, that if you want to write something, it's just your messy first draft. And if you want to go and tidy it up later and share it with us in the feed, that would be wonderful. And also, just say hi to me so I know who's there. And any contributions that you want to stick in the comments will be wonderful. Your best favourite line, a memory. Yeah. We're going to be covering a topic today which some people find may find quite controversial. I know my dad would have if I'd have asked him about this. But mindful that we have a Jubilee coming up. On the 2nd of June, it'll be Her Majesty the Queen's 70th anniversary on the throne of Britain, her platinum Jubilee. So I thought we would do a bit of creative writing around stories of royalty, and you can take that obviously any way that you like. I'll come to. I'm sure I'll tell you about my dad and his socialist views about royalty at some point. So, let's have a quick look. So, 6th of February 1952. 25-year-old Princess Elizabeth of Windsor ascended to the throne of Great Britain on the death of her father, King George VI. Her official coronation as Queen Elizabeth II took place in Westminster Abbey on the 2nd of June the same year. So on the 2nd of June 2020, that will mean that Elizabeth has been the Queen of Great Britain, for 70 years, which will be her Platinum Jubilee, which I believe makes her the longest reigning British monarch. She outstripped Queen Victoria some time ago. So, whether you love them or loathe them, Britain remains a sovereign state. How long for? People may question. And royalty has been a part of our history and our day-to-day stories for hundreds of years. So in this session, we'll think about jubilees, any memories you may have of celebrating or commemorating jubilees or not commemorating them if that was your thing. In the past, of maybe meeting royalty, seeing or hearing about royalty, taking part in some of the commemorations actually in London itself. Maybe you lined the streets for any of recent royal events, or way back in the 50s, June 1952 when Elizabeth took the throne. Maybe you have family stories of royalty that you might want to share with us today, or scribble down, or fictional stories about members of the royal family, which I will come to in a bit. I've got my trusty timer, and I'm going to get us warmed up I'm going to start with 5 minutes and see how we go, and ask you to list just if I say royalty to you, create a list. And again, things I've thought of, experiences of royalties, jubilees you can remember, royal commemorations where you live. I live next to a heritage steam railway, and they will be commemorating, I am sure, the Jubilee weekend. I've seen lots of posts about box toppers and yarn bombers on Facebook. Any royal stories that come to mind? Pictures you've seen of your town's history? Anything? Just go. 5 minutes. List about the word royalty. Stream of consciousness. Anything that comes to mind. Tickers on. Off you go. Okay. You just finish off your list, and then I'll share what we have. Okay, how did you get on with your list? Mine's quite a diverse spread of random scatterings of a mad woman's mind. Royal visits to my hometown. That was the first thing I got. Oops. So yeah, as always with mine, this is personal link. Stories of anything are always about. They're all about me. Queen Elizabeth at the university, and my brother-in-law's mum was on the catering staff. Although she was retired, she still kept her hand in and waiting at university events, and she served the Queen's tea. They chose her. I think she was probably in her 70s. They chose her to serve Queen Elizabeth's tea. And I remember she did tell me what Elizabeth had said to her, but I can't remember now. Something very polite, probably like nice tea or something like that. I remember in the 80s, Princess Diana, the relatively newly married Princess Diana, coming to my town and to a unit that that educated young people with special educational needs, including a sister and brother of mine. And I, through work, got a ticket to stand outside when she was there, along with. So I remember the trees being lined with young children from the school next door and other schools that had come out, blue and white flags being fluttered at her as the car went past. And some of those children were actually lined outside this old house where which was the special school, and lots of dignitaries from the town. And we saw Diana fleetingly. My abiding memory is of the some of the what do you call them? Some of the dignitaries of the town pushing young children out of the way, trying to get nearer to Diana. I'll never forget that. That was the thing that a brief glimpse of Diana and seeing people who should have known better elbowing young children out of the way. Says a lot. Oh yeah, we had apparently in the 60s. I've only seen photographs of it. We had Princess Margaret, who visited our town to open a community centre. And I think we've had Harry and probably William as well drop by. We often get them, they come by to the university to see the bigwigs there. But we also have a military rehab centre that's recently been opened locally, and I think they pop by occasionally to go there. I think we may also have had Prince Charles, but he doesn't get such publicity, does he, Charles, bless him? And I don't also watch the news much now, do we? Other memories. Jubilee, 1977 Jubilee, when I was but a girl. And the only thing I can remember about it is it wasn't a great warm day. None of my Jubilee memories seem to involve any of them being very warm days. And there being a jumble sale at the local Baptist hut. Why a jumble sale would be considered a good way to mark a Jubilee, I don't know. I got a new dress out of it, and that's why I remember. I wore the dress in the street, and the person who donated it shouted that fact that they had donated it. But there you go. We have a Queen's Park in our town, but it was named after a different queen, and it wasn't Victoria, apparently. It was a different one. At Queen Alexandra, would it have been? Maybe. We have a Jubilee Park on the edge of town, which was opened in probably 1977 and named in honour of Queen Elizabeth. There's a gentleman, I'm writing his life story for him, and he told me a story that when Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, visited the army barracks where he was a 17-year-old bugle boy, and he opened the car door for her and elbowed the Duke of somebody out of the way in doing so. He didn't find out till later when he was told off about it. We had a Jubilee Street party 10 years ago in the street my family and I lived in. Cold day, one of the neighbours was a bit tipsy and fell in a hedge, I remember that. Picnic in Queen's Park 5 years ago. And there'll be a picnic in Queen's Park this year, which I'll be going to. And by the look of the weather today, it may not be warm that day either. But fingers crossed there. And where was the one I just saw? My most abiding memory is, I touched a school, it's primary school. And that must be 20 years ago. I'm trying to think of the age of my daughter now. 20 years ago when my daughter was attended the same school, and we did lots of celebrations in school and obviously lots of curriculum planning around celebrations and tea parties and things. And my friend Jean, who was a teaching assistant in the school, pretended to be the Queen for the day so that children could interview her about how she felt. This was for literacy, and they could go and write about it. And I will never forget my wonderful friend Jean, who is no longer with us, pretending to be the Queen with a very Queen-like hat and a very Queen-like dress and sitting on a chair. And she had been teaching the children 10 minutes earlier and went out to change. And they really still believed that she was the Queen. So that was a fantastic story, a memory of the Queen. So not actually of the Queen herself, never met her, probably never will. But some quick hellos. Morning, Irene. Lovely to see you here. Anyone else? Please feel free to say hello. It's nice to know who's listening, and that there are people there listening to me babbling. Right, so we've done a warm up, and yes, I've read that. Let's go to activity 2 then. So Jubilees. I say my dad was an ardent socialist, very anti-royal. Didn't even like people in shops calling him sir, because he said, nobody is my king, I'm not your sir. But there you go, he took it a little bit too far. Weirdly, he was very fond of Diana though, and very cross about how she'd been treated. But the two didn't sit together, but there you go. But whether we like it or not, the Jubilee is happening, and I've been reading a really good book at the moment by a journalist called Oliver Berkman, who is saying that community events are good for our well-being, good for our sense of well-being. It's good to have responsibilities for each other, to do things together collaboratively and be synchronized with other people. And another way he's put it is to fall in with the rhythms of our tribe. We've written before about how we do better together. So Jubilees for me are a kind of a marker of that. My story of Jean is a memory of us as a school doing something together, and I will always remember that. The children loved it. I can see the children sitting outside in circles. We did country dancing outside, all dressed in red, white and blue. So though I may or may not approve of royalty, I certainly approve of the collaborative activities we spend that mark them, and as I've mentioned a few, that the thought of royalty has reminded me of. So we're going to use some of those ideas to do a longer writing piece now. And I've got some stories of royals writing prompts that you might want to use. You could pick one of the things that I've written in your list. So I may write about Jean, the lovely Jean, who was a queen. It rhymes. I could write about Richard III, that was the other one I didn't say, the commemorations for Richard III. So royalty and the tourism it brings is big books. And the city of Leicester have certainly benefited greatly by the tourism money that Finding Richard in a car park there has brought. But there was a lot of the commemorations for that. The talks I've been to about them finding him. Friends who went to the when they took him to Northampton. He was the Duke. I'm going to get this wrong, but they drove his body from Northamptonshire, I think, back up to Leicester, and laid his body to rest in the cathedral there. And people lined the route of the journey. and friends were telling me what a special communal feeling that was, standing with others, marking the passing of this long dead royal's body. But there are other things. You may have met royalty. You may have been to garden parties. The time I met a member of the royalty, and it doesn't have to be British royalty. The time I went to a royal garden party, I have a friend who has been invited to a royal garden party this summer for the work that he's done with young people, which is fab. To have that recognised. He's a very hard-working youth worker and does wonderful things, and it's great to have that marked. The time I did some work for royalty, so you may have a story of doing some work on one of the palaces, or serving somebody in a shop, or being like my brother-in-law's mum, serving tea on a visit. You might have had a telegram from the Queen, or be expecting a telegram from the Queen, or have seen one. You might want to write what you would, if you were to send a telegram to the Queen, what would you say? You might want to jot your thoughts about royalty, whether it's pro-royalty or anti-royalty. Are they relevant in today's society? How have the countries who got rid of their royalty fared? Have they fared any better? You may have an opinion on that. You might enjoy reading about royalty. Books, apparently, with Diana on the cover. If a magazine has Diana on the cover, their sales for the month rocket. But I have the old Ladybird book of Princess Diana somewhere, which is a great little book, and now probably worth a bob or two, although it only cost a couple of quid when it came out. And I used to love reading Georgette Heyer books about long dead royalty. My love of history was initially sparked by Georgette Heyer and her stories of strong female characters who were queens. Thought just ran through my head. You might want to write about the Union Jack, what the colours on it may represent for you. Red is, and that could be the socialist viewpoint. Red is the blood of all the contenders for the crown who were killed over the years, or red, it could be about the pride of the Union Jack. Yep, no, I had another one, but it's gone. No doubt I will tell you in a minute. So, the time... Oh, yes, there you go. My grandmother had family stories about royalty. My mother had a story about nearly being... She was brought up in London, in the East End, and going into London itself, and nearly being run over by the Queen Mother at the time, and that would have been the Queen's grandmother, not Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother. So, are there any funny stories that you have? Or anything? There you go. I'm going to do the time I met, the time I went, my thoughts about what I would say to the Queen, family stories of royalty, royal memorabilia. Do you have a pot or a plate, or the Ladybird book of Princess Diana? Or one of the items that you wrote on your list? Expand it into a piece. Off you go. We're on 25 past. I'm going to try 10 minutes and see if that's long enough. Please do feel free to write an idea or your favourite sentence or the beginning of a story in the comments. It would be lovely to see. just going to finish my sentence and then I'll be with you. Nearly done. Okay. So don't forget, if you've got any little bits, you could just put in the comments. I'd love to share them. How are you getting on, Irene? Have you written anything for us today? So I haven't got very far in, but I'd quite like to carry this on. I'm aware that I've told you most of my stories before writing them down. I do apologise, which made it difficult then to get the ideas because I'd already shared them. But here we go. Let's turn this off. So, in everyday life, Jean wasn't very regal. And I can't even remember now, 20 years after the event, whether she was particularly fond of royalty, though her house was full to bursting of knickknacks, which must have included royal souvenirs. And I can imagine what she would have said about Charlie Boy and his shenanigans with that woman that had brought his marriage to an end. Something strongly worded for certain. She had no time for such kind of men. What she did have, though, was a kind heart and a sharp, creative mind, a huge fondness for the children we taught in our red brick school on the edges of town, and a willingness to roll her sleeves up and muck in with providing them with what was needed to engage them in their learning, a learning which some of them, her favourites, found very difficult to do. Which is how she came to nip out of class one sunny weekday morning, nodding at us over the children's heads as she left, to be found 10 minutes later on a comfy chair in the corner of a sunlit studio, a pastel-coloured meringue of a hat on her head, from a charity shop, she said, a flowery floating dress encasing her body, and a huge plastic handbag on her arm. "Good morning, children," she said politely, waving a white-gloved hand. And that's as far as I got, but there's room there to carry that on. A lovely, lovely morning to remember. And as I say, I'll never forget that the looks on the children's faces, and they actually believed that she was the queen, even though some of them had been reading with her only 10 minutes earlier. So I hope you got something there. It's 20 minutes left. Where's my list? So done that one. There's one more quick activity then before we stop. So yeah, memories of my mother. They'd have been run over by Queen, whoever she was. Wouldn't have been Alexandra, would it? maybe it would have been Alexandra, whoever it was, Queen whoever. There are lots of memories we can draw on for our pieces about royalty, but there are also lots of fiction pieces. People use royalty to as topics for fiction, and some of those can be true life types of stories. So if you watch The Crown, you'll be familiar with the life of Queen Elizabeth from shortly before her coronation, and I think the series has gone up to the Diana stories, the Diana years. I do enjoy watching it, but I do spend a lot of time afterwards Googling how historically correct are those, and as you need to do with the story, a lot of them are moved around to make an exciting story arc. But other writers, Sue Townsend wrote a book called The Queen and I in 1992. I haven't read it, but I've got it. I think it's about the Queen, the country becoming a democracy and the Queen going to live in a council estate somewhere, if I'm correct. It was also turned into a play, which I would like to see. Sue Townsend, a local writer to me here. Alan Bennett wrote a book that I have read, The Uncommon Reader. That was in 2007. He wrote a story about the books that the Queen really liked to read, and that in his imaginary story, she wasn't such a highbrow reader as one might imagine a Queen to be. There's the BFG, which there are two different. I read the book at school with children, but I've seen two film versions of it, a cartoon version and a later one with actors in that has the Queen in it. There's the Queen with, her name's gone. Lots of films about Queen Victoria. No, it's gone. The film called The Queen. Lots and lots of films. And then there was the one that the Queen actually acted in herself, the Olympic opening ceremony where she pretends to go off with James Bond and go to the opening ceremony with James Bond. Again, I can't remember exactly how that went. But fictional pieces about real royals. So my idea is that let's do a bit of fiction next. I often focus on memories, but let's do a little bit of fiction next. Write an imaginary story involving royalty of some kind. It could be the British royalty, the current British royal family. It could be an incident of you meeting royalty, current or in the past. Maybe you bump into the ghost of somebody. It could, so Henry VIII, for instance, and yesterday was the anniversary of Anne Boleyn's death. It was also the anniversary of Harry and Meghan getting married as well. What else did I think of? I have some more on my list. The meeting Richard III, writing the story of how he got in that car park. Anything. A letter, write a letter to the Queen, an imaginary letter to the Queen. What would you say? What would you say to the Queen if you met her? Her car broke down going through your town and you turn up outside your door and she asks to come in. And you give her a cup of tea while her driver gets a repairman, the RAC, to come. Anything we have. Oh, let's do a quick one. We'll make it 7 minutes. A quick 2-paragraph at most fictional piece about royalty. And again, it takes me 2 minutes to think of an idea. Anne Boleyn. I'm going to do Anne Boleyn. Just finish the bit that you're on. Okay. Right. I didn't do Victoria in the end. I did Anne Boleyn, who was beheaded on the 19th of May, but I can't remember the year. Suddenly struck me that all these jubilees in June have been cool, so maybe it would have been cool. That's May. Read it, just read it. Here you go. The heavy wooden door swung open with a force the guard hadn't expected, and embarrassed at what seemed like over-exuberant haste, he blushed, casting an involuntary quick glance at the small, slight woman standing calmly in the corridor, flanked on all sides by stern-faced men. He looked away just as quickly, aware of the etiquette of his lowly position, but not before noting her pull herself tall as if to show a determined face to those outside. Somewhere in the depths of the corridor, a woman stifled a sob, and as light flooded in on the party, gathered to enter the courtyard, the stirrings of a baying crowd could be heard waiting to greet them there. So there we go again. And a little bit of a beginning. That could be, I don't know if it's too sad to develop it into poor Anne Boleyn. I remember from my Georgette Hare days that she was quite brave on the scaffold. Was it a French? She'd paid a French swordman, hadn't she, to do the deed quickly and cleanly, if I remember correctly. Good morning, Lindsay. I hope you're well. I hope you've managed to get some writing done. I have 5 minutes left. Right, 5 minutes left. 6 minutes, that's unheard of. No comments to read today. Okay, how about then just a quick prompt. Let's do as many sentences as you can. From the prompt, royalty is. Royalty is. Off you go. Royalty is. Okay, there you go. I've only got a few things. From a long line of socialists, I'm afraid it comes a little clearer in mine. But here we go. Royalty is an unnecessary expense to the country, my old socialist dad would have said. A social construct, the effect of the best fighters with the biggest armies seizing dominion over others by force. I think that is historically correct. There is no, I'm not chosen by God. I'm chosen by money and power. A thing. Royalty is a thing. So apologies for the word thing. Can't think of a better one. A thing which brings millions of pounds of tourist money to the country every year. A topic to sell newspapers for certain. Let's add another one. At its best, a vehicle for engaging the community and bringing the community together in a commemoration in June. And the final thing, royalty is an interesting phenomena to think about in this modern day and age. So there you go. So wherever you stand on the topic of royalty, whether you are pro or con or whatever, I hope you've managed to get some interesting creative pieces today from my prompts, and that you enjoyed yourself for the hour and to listening to my stories of absolutely everything. So take care, and I will see you in a month's time with another topic. If you've got any ideas for topics, feel free also to put them in the comments, and we'll see. Anything you fancy doing on another month, just let me know. And in between, have a good month, and I'll see you again. Bye.